This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC. I'm here with Mel Tempest from Australia.
Good morning.
Good morning. She has her own podcast. I have my own podcast. Now we have a podcast together.
We do.
We are in San Diego at the URSA 2018 trade show and networking event. Mel's got a great background as a owner and operator in the space. So I say the best way that you get experience is by actually doing something yourself.
That's true.
And then she's got a consulting practice, a podcast, and is helping grow the industry globally. So Mel, welcome to Halo Talks.
Thank you very much. Very excited to be here.
Excellent. So why don't you give our audience and your audience just a primer on your background and starting your own club and how you turned your passion into profession.
Okay, so I got into the fitness industry by accident. I did. And so I've had a club for about 15 years. And we started it from zero. So we come to open a club because a group fitness manager told me that I couldn't teach a certain style of dance class. So I sort of went home one day and said, hey, I want to open up my own gym. I only
It's
had
called revenge investing.
It was revenge. It was revenge. And so I only had about 18 months experience in the fitness industry. So I went in with absolutely no gym manage experience, nothing like that. So anyway, long story short, we ended up opening our club 2 years later. So I wasn't able to get a job within the community once I left where I was working.
So you got blackballed from the industry.
I got blackballed big time.
Wow.
Yeah. So for 2 years I was an unemployed group fitness instructor aspiring to open up her own club.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what kind of self-help network did you join at the time?
Just my own personal network.
I say when you talk to yourself a lot, you can accomplish a lot, and you don't really have much arguments.
You can, and that's
stay on
true.
your same path, right?
Yeah, that's true. So we opened up our club, and we've had it for nearly 15 years. About 8 years ago, we were lucky enough to purchase our own building, which puts us into another league as a club owner. So I decided that with my story, that I was going to go out and help other club owners to aspire to be the best that they can be. So my passion is group programming and marketing, and I love to be a disruptor in the industry.
So what was the program that you wanted to teach that you were not allowed to teach?
Body Jam.
Body Jam. And what was it? What was the actual modality?
It's a dance class. So it's a dance class. And so I just got a big fat no from the group fitness manager. And what I couldn't understand was that she was somebody that I aspired to be like, and we were working in the industry where we inspire people to be the best that we can be, and I was being told that I couldn't even have a go at something. And as a 35-year-old woman who had 3 children, I couldn't understand that at all. I just didn't get it.
Yeah, well, I think certain people are who want to control the environment, right? So
True. And you can't have that in this industry because we're here to inspire others.
Sure.
And everybody has the right to be the best that they can be.
So what was the biggest thing that you learned when you started operating your own club that probably others in the audience here, if they're going to open up their own location, might not be thinking about, or what you say, like, hey, make sure when you see this, you address it right away?
Look, the biggest mistake I made was that I didn't have a business background. So when I opened up my club, BAS which is tax, was being introduced into Australia, and I'd had my club for about 4 or 5 months, and the accountant came knocking on the door and said, hey, don't forget, you've got to pay GST. And I was like, what the hell is GST? So don't go into it with your eyes closed. Go do your homework. Find out the stuff that you really need to know about hiring staff, about firing staff, about having, staff employment contracts. Find out about your insurance. Find about the taxes that you need to pay. And though we're all very passionate about what we do, the reality is at the end of the day, we're also got to be accountable for other parts of our business as well.
Sure. So as you grew, what did you gravitate towards? Did you gravitate towards group programming because that was the reason why you started the club?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was a group fitness instructor. I wasn't interested in being a personal trainer. Mm-hmm. So my husband took over the gym equipment side of it, and I just ran the group fitness. And we became a very successful club. And the reason we became successful was that I had been in an environment where the less clothes you wore, the more popular you were in the centre as a group fitness instructor. So what we did was we opened up a club that provided a non-intimidating fitness fitness experience for our community. So you could come in your baggy tracksuit pants, you could come in your daggy t-shirts, and that's why I think our business became successful.
So your brand started to represent the brand, and the culture kind of spoke to that we're not going to judge you. You don't have to
That's
get
exactly right.
dressed up
Yep,
here to work out.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to come with your lipstick on and your makeup and all of that. That's not what it's about. So we kept that culture. We still have that culture, and that's what's allowed us to stay in the top 3 clubs in our community. When we opened, there was 10 facilities, and now there's over 80.
Wow, that's great. So so after you refined your own club and turned it into what you wanted it to be, did you feel like that was the best decision you've ever made?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. And I encourage everybody to have a go at doing something.
Yeah, it's great. With the right tools and with the right support system, it's much easier to not have to experience failure.
That's true. Well, there's no such thing as failure. I think you just learn.
Yeah, so actually there was a guy here yesterday, and he said that fail means first attempt in learning was
That's
what
exactly
it stood for.
Exactly right.
It's one of my takeaways from the show. So after you got the club running and it was the business model was working, when did you start doing consulting and helping other people?
Well, what happened was club owners started to ring me to find out why my group fitness timetable was so successful. So I started giving free advice to other club owners, and I did that for about 3 or 4 years, and I was quite happy to do that. Did editorials for magazines, used social media a lot, set up my own Facebook page as you do, and to be quite honest with you, I've been doing it for about 5 years, and I do it freely. I don't derive an income from it. I'm more than happy to help other club owners.
That's great. And then you started the podcast as an additional way to scale your one-to-one self-help pro bono work.
Yes, absolutely,
Gotcha.
absolutely. I was sort of forced into the podcast by Thomas Plummer.
Really?
Yes, I was. And he was my first person that I interviewed, and it just snowballed from there. And so what we do is we get people on our podcast that are gym owners or people that have had successful sort of fitness businesses where other gym owners can relate to it and that they can actually implement it into their own club. So we're not about attracting the big names in the fitness business industry. We're about attracting the real people that real gym operators can relate to.
Gotcha. That's great. And are you doing the editing on your own? Is this your?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so you've got some support system in place for that.
I have Click Media. They do all my editing for me, and I also have somebody that does the graphics, etc. But otherwise, after that, I upload everything myself across social media.
Gotcha. So you're based in Australia, but your reach seems like it's global. So people are finding you.
Well, actually, the US is our highest. So we've 40% of our clientele come from the US. Then it's Australia, and then it's followed by the UK and China.
That's great. So do you see? Do you get into positions where you're helping people scale what they're already doing, going to multi-unit franchising? Where's kind of the sweet spot for you?
Mine is more about the single operator, the person that I relate to, because that's what I do for a living. So I do more work with single operators. I also do a lot of work with people who have group programs that are wanting to launch them into the marketplace. So similar to your Les Mills, Soul Body is one of the people that will be launching in Australia.
Yep.
So I'm doing a lot of work with those that have a product that they want to launch in the country.
So what do you think the future is of single owned and operated locations?
I think that they can be quite successful. The single club operator needs to jump outside the square. They need to think laterally and not straight down the line. They need to take a little bit more risk. In our own club, we've just opened up a business within the business. So we've just added 300 square metres to our club, which is a functional training studio. We've rebranded it with a completely different name. So instead of worrying about the studio boutiques that are opening up down the road, we've gone, you know what, let's build a boutique within our club. And I think more single operators need to do the same thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of these shows that we go to, somebody who has one location wants to get to 10, somebody who has 10 wants to get to 100. They don't necessarily ask the question why they're growing, and it just seems like the thing that you're supposed to do. Talk about maybe when you find something that fits what you want to accomplish, and you have a place that you go to every day, and it's profitable, and you're affecting people's lives, how that might be enough.
It is enough. It is enough. Look, I've had 2 clubs. I had the men's only facility, so we opened up Australia's first men's gym. And I can tell you now that having to look after 2 facilities is quite difficult. And so what we ended up doing was we amalgamated both of our clubs into one. And that's how we come to purchase the building that we're in now.
Gotcha. So talk about for a moment, like the ownership of that building completely changes the risk profile of what you're doing, creates equity value, and now you're playing the real estate market with that security versus having to renegotiate a lease, having to go back to your landlord to ask for certain things. I would say, which I think it's an interesting point that we're bringing up here, is that if you own if you have one leased location and you go to 3 leased locations versus having one location and own the building, I think I'd rather own the building.
Of course you would. I mean, it's your superannuation. It's your exit strategy. I mean, why would you want to pay somebody else's bill?
Yep.
Why would you want to do it? I mean, at the end of the day, you know, we've purchased a fantastic property. We appreciate it all the time. Every time we put in a new air conditioner or a new carpet, we're looking after ourselves. We're not looking after somebody else. So what can happen here is I can sell my business, which I probably plan to do anyway in the next 12 to 18 months, but I can still be the landlord. And what's the worst thing that can happen to me with that? I collect the rent.
And you could still probably work into the lease that you can do your workout programs.
And I want to do that. I want to do that.
You're going to pay me X amount, and I have 1 hour per day to do whatever I want in this piece of square footage.
Absolutely.
Well, it's great. So, I think it's great work what you're doing to help people, run profitable locations and to achieve their goals and their dreams, and also to be content with, this is what I own, and I'm going to buy the real estate, and that's good enough.
Yeah.
Tell people that the Earth is moving 66,000 miles around a fireball. So if you've got a location and you like what you're doing every day, don't change that, make it more complicated.
Well, why would you want to make it complicated? Because then what happens is you don't have that work-life balance. You're trying to split yourself into 3 or 4 different facilities. Why would you want to do that? Have one facility and have a life outside that facility as well.
So to life and to balance, and if you need help, talk to Mel.
Put your hand up. I'm here.
Put your hand up. She's got the right attitude, the right experience. So I look forward to working with you going forward here and collaborating on future podcasts. And thanks for coming. And glad we met in person.
Thank you very much for having me.
Excellent.
It's fun.
All right.